bienvenue au musée. It's been a lot. Sorry, is this on? Can you hear me online? All good? All right. Welcome back to the museum. Some of you, I recognize some faces. We were here in May when we met Minister Bibeau and the president of IFAD and our Deputy Director General, Lloyd Day. It's a pleasure for us once again to partner with the museum to celebrate agritourism as a solution for development. Post-COVID, there's more interest now in tourism, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to explore solutions in the Caribbean and Central America. I'm the country representative for ICA. I had the ICA Canadian delegation, our headquarters in Costa Rica. We have offices across Central America, across the Caribbean. They'll be joining us online. A few housekeeping rules. If you haven't turned off your phone, please do so in this room. If you have to take the call, of course, just if you want to step outside the room, please do so. We always multitask. I don't know where the bathrooms are.
They are right outside the door, immediately outside the door.
Okay, and at home, I know you know where that is. I wanted to invite the museum, because this is their home. We thought it was a nice combination of agriculture and tourism, to say a few words of welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Jean-Charles. Good morning and welcome. Bienvenue à vous tous. My name is Carolee Birchall. I'm the Director General of the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum. This is one of 3 national museums of science and innovation under the Ingenium banner. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the museum is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. And Ingenium honors all First Nations, Inuit and Métis peoples, and their innumerable contributions to our ways of knowing since time immemorial. We are thrilled to be the venue this morning again in an ongoing series for such a wonderful event, especially knowing that today, October 17th, is the International Day of Eradication of Poverty, and how that connects to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Indeed, we will be hearing about some very innovative initiatives to this end over the coming hour. I would like to thank ICA and Jean-Charles for their ongoing partnership and, with the museum, and for continuing to lead such important discussions about the intrinsic links between inter-American agriculture in all its facets, including agritourism. I would also like to recognize the leadership in the room today, the embassies, government, and industry. With current world events, it is refreshing to have a collaborative and sustainable discussion amongst nations this morning. Merci.
Merci à toi, au contraire. So from my end, definitely wanted to say a big thank you and a big hug to our friend Jean at IFAD for their sponsoring today's workshop. All the SICA member states, it's a pleasure working with you always. And so they're one of our main partners for this event today. And so the way we are going to organize it, there are no really any pauses throughout the morning until 11:30. So if you need to get up, coffee, just go ahead. We won't transition online either. So the idea is for it to flow. We'll start with a few opening remarks, about 5 minutes each. I'd like to invite His Excellency Cisneros from El Salvador to join me. You can stay if you wish. Would you like to stay during the opening remarks? Okay. We'll need the name card, thanks. And then we'll invite IFAD to speak. They will be online, and the United Nations WTO. I don't mean trade. The World Tourism Organization, which people often confuse the two. So over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Bueno, estimadas embajadoras de Costa Rica, Honduras, Guatemala, Panamá y de República Dominicana, que pronto se va a juntar con nosotros. Estimada Rosana Polasti, que creo que está en...
Momentito, mil disculpas.
Sí.
There are headsets for interpretation.
Oh, yes.
Hay interpretación simultánea en la parte de atrás. Perdón, olvidé mencionar.
Excellent words of welcome in Spanish. So we have interpretation in English, French, and Spanish at the back. If you want the headsets, I suggest you grab them now. Con permiso.
30 segundos para...
We're going to give 30 seconds for the people in the room to get their device so that they can hear the interpretation as well.
So for those of you online, if you're in the Zoom, you'll see there's a globe at the bottom right below. You can pick your language there, English, French, and Spanish.
ICA welcomes you to this event and thanks you for your participation. To improve the quality of the video conference, please take note of the following recommendations. Remember to unmute your microphone only when you are given the floor. Please keep your microphone muted when another person is speaking. We ask that you keep your camera on at all times so that the other participants can see you. If you need to step away for a moment, you can turn the camera off and turn it back on when you return. Please put your cell phone in silent mode to avoid any interruptions during the video conference. We recommend that you maintain proper posture and position yourself adequately in front of your computer. Simultaneous interpretation will be provided for this meeting via the Zoom platform. At the bottom of the Zoom screen, you will see a globe icon that says Interpretation. Click the icon and select the language you wish to listen to. It is very important that you select the language in which you will speak, as this will facilitate the interpretation. At the end of the video, please remain silent for 30 seconds. Afterwards, the moderator will begin the meeting. Thank you very much for your attention.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to reintroduce His Excellency from El Salvador, de Carlos Cisneros, with a few words of welcome.
Muchas gracias, Jean-Charles. Bueno, estimadas embajadoras de Costa Rica, Guatemala, Panamá, República
So,
Dominicana.
dear ambassadors of Costa Rica, Honduras, Guatemala, Panama, and I believe the person from Honduras as well, and Ms. Rosana Polanski, who is the Director General for Latin America and the Caribbean of the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Then Sandra Carvalho, Head of Market and Competitiveness Intelligence at the World Tourism Organization. Dear Pamela O'Donnell from Global Affairs Canada. Dear Kevin Boucher, thank you very much for welcoming us in this Museum of Agriculture. I truly believe at home as we come here every year to have breakfast with that. John Sharon, representative from ICA, good morning. And I have the honor to address you in my capacity as representative of El Salvador, Ambassador of El Salvador, the country that has assumed the pro-tempore presidency of SICA for the second half of this year until 2024. In this capacity, I would like to thank ICA Canada and its representative, Jean-Charles Levalet, for supporting our region by organizing this webinar on a topic of global relevance and impact, such as agritourism. As we know, agritourism, in its simple definition, is an activity that combines agriculture and tourism, and in practice, it is a form of sustainable tourism with varied activities and multiple advantages that may benefit both the Caribbean, Central America, and in this greeting, and that's why this is an event that has been organized with both regions. Countries of SICA have an advantage because of their biodiversity, flora, fauna, geography, and everything from beaches on the coast to the majestic volcanoes and cloud forests, natural parks. Our region has a lot to offer. In addition, we have a unique cultural heritage with tradition, gastronomy, and handcrafts that attract tourists from all over the world. Visitors can visit the life in the countryside, explore plantations, local communities, and at the same time, agritourism seizes this cumulative riches of the natural and the culture. In our other things that I would like to highlight of agritourism for local development, it can generate significant income for rural communities that will assist in the reduction of poverty and the development of local communities. The resources can remain in the local areas for the promotion of sustainable agriculture by showing the visitors that there are sustainable agricultural practices. Agritourism promotes ecological agriculture and environmental conservation. Also in cultural promotion, by visiting rural territories, Tourists have the opportunity to discover local customs, practices, and traditions, and populations can take pride in their territories and origins, which motivates them to promote their heritage. And the diversification of agricultural sector. Agritourism adds to a benefits second source of income from tourism, additional to what they get from the agricultural sector. And this will then be, is an opportunity to generate jobs and develop an inclusive sector for farming families. It also provides opportunities in innovation and technology, for investment in innovation and technology, because it presents the opportunity to invest in connectivity and technologies in rural areas, generating greater local income that allows improving the quality of the services provided. We're going to have some specific examples of success in agritourism, and that's why we will have participants from the private and the government in different countries that will tell us about some successful examples of agritourism in our region. And each will show its own perspective in their own vision that will aspire to promote agritourism in our region. And altogether, we will be able to contribute to promote this segment of the tourism sector. Well, definitely, we have some challenges, and the biggest one is climate change, with increasingly violent phenomena affecting our rural and agricultural areas. And in addition, as we will see, agritourism faces challenges in the region, such as the lack of training and resources in the rural communities. And there's not much knowledge of the best practices to enhance agritourism. So all of this can be attained through articulated work of different actors accompanied by policies aimed at the environmental conservation and identification of good practices in terms of sustainable tourism development. I would conclude with the idea that agritourism is a unique opportunity for sustainable development in our region. Tourism development, successful tourism development, and environmental preservation are not mutually exclusive. We must promote tourism and offer travelers authentic experiences, but in a responsible manner, preserving our natural cultural resources for future generations. The goal must be to improve the quality of life of our rural communities, and this is exactly what agritourism allows. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I fully agree on that last remark, and it's true that it's a great overview of the benefits of agritourism. We're going to go in more in depth about all those different benefits and lessons learned and best practices and solutions. I want to now go online and invite IFAD to provide a few opening remarks.
Buenos días. Permítame saludar al señor Ricardo
Good
Cisneros.
morning. Allow me to greet Mr. Ricardo Cisneros, Ambassador of El Salvador and President Pro Tempore of SICA, and Ms. Sandra Carvalho, Head of Market Intelligence and Competitiveness of the World Tourism Organization, who are with me in this session of keynote speakers. I would also like to greet Dr. John Charles Levalet, representative of Canada, and Carrie Lee Birchall, Director General of the Agriculture and Food Museum in Canada. On behalf of IFAD, it is a pleasure for me to participate in the workshop Agritourism, a Strategic Path for the Development of Central America and the Caribbean. I'm very sorry I cannot be with you personally, but thanks to new technologies, we can feel a little closer. I would like to frame my participation with three main reflections: the boom of tourism after a pandemic, agritourism as a factor that promotes local agriculture, and the job opportunities for young people. After the strong impact suffered in 2020, tourism is recovering. International tourist arrivals to Central America have already surpassed the pre-pandemic record. This is a milestone that the world as a whole has not reached yet. Tourism is a central activity for the region economies. In the Caribbean, for example, before the pandemic, tourism and related activities contributed 26% of gross domestic product and 35% of employment. Therefore, we have countries with a vocation for tourism, which know how to treat visitors and are prepared to receive a growing demand. The opportunity is magnificent. The second reflection I will share is that agritourism represents a way for rural development without abandoning agricultural activity. It allows us to value local and small-scale production. Agritourism values the current and ancestral knowledge of our rural communities. In a way, it gives a renewed character to the traditional perception of the countryside. Tourists seek to consume what is local, what is grown on the land, what is natural. Who doesn't fancy a cup of coffee after touring the farm where it was grown? To use a very current terminology, we can say that the farm-to-table concept is a trend. Let's take advantage of that. There is still a long way to go to turn these opportunities into a real tourist asset, not only in terms of infrastructure and services, but also in terms of awareness and skills of our rural people. Possibly, the greatest potential for the development of agritourism is found in rural youth. This will be my third reflection, the most important for our work at IFAD. Young people are often willing to engage in new activities, to connect digitally with the world. They are interested in getting to know people and cultures and promoting the values of their place of origin. It is in our hands to give them a real option to live sustainably in the countryside. At IFAD, we have already taken some steps in this direction. In Honduras, as part of our Bridges with Rural Youth project, we have promoted the connection between agricultural production and knowledge, with the gastronomic and nutritional offer expanded to urban areas. In the Dominican Republic, the ProRural Joven project will seek to promote the diversification of youth employment and entrepreneurship. It includes agritourism option, mentoring, marketing training, and promotion of the tourism offer. IFAD's objective is to integrate small producers into value chains and to balance a balance that is currently unbalanced. In conclusion, we see a tourism sector in full recovery after pandemic. We have an invaluable tourism offer brimming with biodiversity and culture. Agritourism enriches the productive activity and meets a growing demand of visitors who wants to live different experiences and consume local products. And we have a rural youth that is key to take hold of agritourism as an instrument that allows them for a rural and sustainable livelihood. At IFAD, we work to combine all these elements for the benefit of rural communities and young people. If young people see themselves as part of a dynamic rural community, they will have less reason to leave. If we build a thriving rural economy that grows quality food insecurity will be reduced and diets will be more nutritious. Let's make the countryside a trending topic. Let's be the influencers to promote agritourism. And we will all do well. I wish you a fruitful working day. Good morning to you.
So I hope you're getting a better picture now. It complements well what you heard in the first opening remarks from El Salvador and the President Pontepe de Sica. And we're going to follow up after Ms. Palastri's remarks with the UN WTO. The Sandra Cavao also will be by video. They're a specialized agency of the UN for tourism, of which Canada is not a member. Sound, please.
To host the UNWTO General Assembly, and therefore I apologize for not joining online directly with you. I want to thank and appreciate the opportunity given by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture and also SICA and IFAD to join you today and share a little bit of what is the work of UNWTO in the area of gastronomy tourism. It's been quite a number of years that we have now had a full program for gastronomy tourism, but also for tourism and rural development, and actually more and more both of these areas intersect. So very briefly on the topic that brings my panel together, I would just like to share first of all what we at UNWTO with our General Assembly have identified as rural tourism. For us, it's a type of activity in which the visitor experiences are related to a wide spectrum of products linked to agriculture, ways of life, and rural culture, fishing, and visiting places of interest. For us, it also has to be in an area that obviously is low population density, landscapes and land use, where agriculture and forestry prevail, and also that the social structures and traditional way of life. Why is it important that we can actually maximize the role of tourism in fighting the depopulation that we see today in rural areas, and also the decay in many other indicators? We see that people in rural areas are twice as likely to be in informal employment as those in urban areas. The employment by women is much lower, but also access to big issues such as services, including digital access, possibility of having a higher income. All of that has led UNWTO to create a new program, which is called UNWTO Tourism for Rural Development Program, and in which agritourism takes a leading role. Our mission is to make sure that we use tourism to value and safeguard rural villages along with innovative, transformative approaches. What is rural tourism? We've actually asked our member states, and a few keywords have come from that research. Community, and this is really at the heart of our work, development and local, but also cultural and agriculture. Within the work that we do, one of our flagship initiatives is the Best Tourism Villages by UNWTO, a project that we launched in 2021, in which we evaluate a series of villages that our member states propose to us on 9 areas. And those go from economic sustainability to social sustainability, but also to tourism development and the governance that's given to tourism. So where do we stand in terms of promoting these linkages between agriculture, agritourism, tourism, gastronomy, all these assets that actually can enrich the destination? A survey by American Express has actually shown that eating and shopping in small businesses are considered the top activity in terms of having a positive in the local community impact. So this is why we're more and more committed to advance this with projects on the ground with our member states, but also with platforms of sharing and enriching our knowledge. Just recently, we've held our 8th UNWTO Forum on Gastronomy Tourism in the city of San Sebastian, and one of the main conclusions is that it is time and a really good moment from the demand and development perspective to actually revamp agritourism, to create an enriching experience, to deepen the interaction between producers and hospitality and tourists, and to create bigger profits for rural destinations, to advance with education for urban kids and urban populations, and actually to generate a locally supplied state. We've also advanced some guidelines for the development of gastronomy tourism for destinations, because we truly believe that gastronomy can be at the heart of connection agriculture with tourism. I thank you very much, and I look forward for the continued collaboration with all of you, and I wish you a very successful event. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandra. I get this question all the time. This video, the entire workshop will be available on our ICA Canada webpage. It'll take a couple days and then English, French, and Spanish. So if you're taking note of like the data, that kind of thing, you can pick it off the video afterwards. One of them that you saw was the rural connectivity. In the Americas, there are 72 million people in rural dwellers who do not have any internet at all. And in rural areas, in relative terms, it's about 36 to 40%. In urban areas, it's about 80 in the Americas. So there's lots of work to do, a lot of benefits to the internet, but if they can't benefit from it if they don't even have any access. Those are among the issues that we can talk about today. I'm going to thank all 3 conference speakers for their opening remarks and invite our next moderator, Vivian Arguelles. She's one of our technical specialists, originally from Mexico. She'll be leading the next panel along with Caroline. If you want to sit with her, please. All right, please. Over to you.
Thank you, JC. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to this exciting discussion on Caribbean agritourism opportunities in the Caribbean. So I'm Vivian Arguelles. I'm technical specialist here at ICA Canada, and I have the privilege of moderating this panel today. So here with me, I have Caroline Morrow, who is Tourism Development Specialist at Banneking. Welcome, Caroline. And joining us online, we have Shona Brandon, who is our own ICA Rural Development Specialist. We also have Enrique Hennings, who is Head of Mesoamerica and the Caribbean Hub at IFAD. And we have Carlota Morales, who is representative for Central America, Mexico, and the Caribbean at Planetera. We are truly honored to have such esteemed experts with us joining us today, and you can learn more about them by using the QR codes that you have in your name tags, because there we have all their biographies, so you can learn all about their expertise and their credentials. So in a moment, each of our speakers will have 7 minutes to give a presentation on agritourism opportunities in the Caribbean. So let's try to stay concise so that we have time for questions from the audience later. So without further ado, let's begin with our first panelist, Caroline, who will start this discussion, introducing us to the latest trends in the world of agritourism.
Thank you. Is this on? Yeah. Okay, great. So just waiting for my slides to come up. There we go. Okay, awesome. So I have been tasked today with leaning a little bit into the tourism side of things, so looking forward to talking to you about what we're excited about when it comes to agritourism. Next slide. The plan is to first recap what is agritourism, thinking about why agritourism is important, but really leaning into what are agri-tourists looking for and what makes a great agritourism experience, and then wrap up with what we're excited about looking ahead into the future. Next slide, and then next slide again. Thank you. So when it comes to agritourism, next slide, at Banneken, we think of it as a subtype of culinary tourism. And recognizing, of course, that within agritourism there are many other types of tourism, including wine tourism being one that is particularly well known. But just want to recognize, and reiterating what everyone was saying, it is connected to so many other types of tourism as well. So agritourism is also a subtype of rural tourism, has many links to ecotourism, adventure tourism, and cultural tourism as well. Next slide, which means there are a great many activities that can be considered agritourism, whether we're talking about dining on farm, having local food, walking through fields, looking at livestock, learning about different production techniques, participating in a harvest. Next slide. Maybe staying at an on-farm accommodation, buying direct from consumer, doing a taste test. All these different activities are part of agritourism. Next slide, and then next slide again. So why is agritourism something that we're particularly excited about? I'm going to briefly talk about a few of these because I know we heard about some of them already, but it does provide exciting new employment opportunities for rural regions and income diversification for farmers. But it's not just at the farm level, it's also at the regional level. So diversifying the sorts of tourism activities that are available for the visitor and dispersing those benefits. So that means that the benefits aren't just going to one group, they are being spread out across the destination. And because of that, it helps to combat rural depopulation, promote innovation and resilience through these new sorts of businesses that are coming about, direct-to-consumer sales, and through those sales, connecting people to where their food comes from. And that helps to support local food consumption. And a few things that tie into that are preserving and activating local built heritage. So maybe there is a building on farm that is underutilized, but agritourism gives a reason to invest in this more, as well as valorizing those local traditions and natural heritage elements and incorporating those into activities. Next slide. And next slide again. So when it comes to the visitor themselves, there are some trends in what visitors are looking for, particularly agri-tourists. So this research is mostly focusing on visitors coming from North America and Europe, but it does have trends that spread and can be seen from other origin segments as well. But visitors these days are looking for transformational travel. That means they are looking for tourism that leaves them changed. They're not going to be the same person after they've engaged with the tourism, from that learning experience enrichment and immersion, they had hands-on activities, they were able to participate fully in these experiences, and it leaves them feeling different and feeling changed. One way to get that is cultural exchange and connection. So that's something that a lot of visitors are looking for. They want to meet people, they want to have a real experience. And to make that really resonate, multi-sensory elements are key. So being able to touch, to taste, to smell, to really interact with the places they're visiting. And what it comes down to is they're looking for an experience. Visitors aren't just looking for something they can buy, they want to feel like they had a real experience in the place that they are visiting. Next slide. So the thing to think about is what actually makes a great agritourism experience. And how we think about it is three main things. So people, place, and process. And what brings these together is it allows for this sense of connection. So if you're thinking about an agritourism experience, when you're talking about the people side of things, questions to ask are, who's behind the business? So are there really engaging stories about the owner or the staff that can be shared with visitors to help them connect more deeply and feel a sense of loyalty and belonging to this business? Are there collaborations that the farm is doing with other producers that can be celebrated, or maybe a value-driven mandate or an ethos that helps people to feel engaged with the business? When it comes to places, asking what makes the place unique. And agriculture can really benefit from this in a way that not all types of tourism can, because agriculture changes so much based on the place where it is. So if you're offering an agritourism experience on the side of a mountain versus a valley floor, it's not going to look the same. The crops that are grown, the techniques that are used are different, so leaning into that from a tourism perspective and sharing those sorts of maybe challenges with the growing conditions or local history that comes about as a result of those landscapes is really key. And then when it comes to the processes, taking those people, those places, and asking, how does that change our approach to agriculture? Are there specific traditions or skills or techniques that we can incorporate into these experiences to make them feel more personal and special to the visitor and create that point of differentiation from other destinations? Finally, just looking ahead, it is a really exciting time for agritourism. There are a lot of trends that have come since COVID in how tourism is looking and what people are looking for that really line up with what agritourism has to offer. Some of these I mentioned, so next slide, that, and next slide again, that meaningful, purposeful travel, but also just the desire to connect with people again. We've been separated for so long. Agritourism, especially in rural areas when people have maybe been stuck at home in urban centers, it helps to provide that outlet. And as well, just want to mention supporting local businesses. We have seen this surge in desire on the part of consumers when they're at home, but also when they're traveling, to support those local businesses. And as a result, agritourism really can fill many of those areas, and we're excited to see how it will continue to develop in the future and support rural areas. And there we go. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline, for sharing those insights on how to create a meaningful agritourism experience. So now let's turn our attention to Jamaica, to Shona Brandon, who will show us what we can find in the Caribbean when we dare to step beyond the beach. Welcome, Shona.
Hi, good morning, Ms. Arguelles. Good morning to Dr. Levali, all of the keynote speakers, and my fellow panelists. Should I proceed to share screen?
We're trying to get you here on our screen right now. There we go.
Should I share screen?
Perfect. Yes, please share your screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a second. Trying to share my screen, just for some reason it's not coming up.
We'll share the screen for you here, Shauna.
Okay, I think I'm about, not sure why it is not coming up as an option. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will be looking at some of the agritourism opportunities in the Caribbean and what you can find when you leave the beach. So I just want to introduce you to Fred, our tourist, on the left-hand side, and Mas Brown, the farmer, on your right-hand side. All right, could you, next slide? All right, so I'm going to share a brief video because I'm not sharing screen. I'm going to ask you to click on the link, but to start at 0.38 on the timeline. But while you do that, I want to draw, just before you do that, I want to draw your attention to the video. The brief video I'm going to show you is from a trip, is from a farm-to-table experience in Jamaica, in deep rural Jamaica, known as Tush in the Bush. And this is a review from TripAdvisor. And if you look at some of the segments of the review, which are highlighted in different colors, you would see the extent to which this particular traveler enjoyed the visit. And this is someone who had been to 49 countries, and the experience was truly memorable. I'm going to ask you to share the video, please. And if you could just move to 0.38 on the timeline of this video. It's a YouTube video.
Tush in the Bush really embodies this whole thought around rustic gourmet. The philosophy in itself is that we want you to learn how to fall in love with your food. It's not just about the food. It's about the entire experience.
It's been a rainy, windy morning. Zionite's farm at Tush in the Bush. What we're going to do is to gather today's vegetables, greens, herbs, spices, fruits.
Parsley, cilantro, oregano. I'd like to make some fresh chimichurri sauce.
Whatever's going to be on your menu, it's harvested fresh from the farm. I always describe Jamaica as a power center. There is a powerful energy just springing out of the earth. The connection with the earth is, I don't know, it's intrinsic for me. Breadfruit is a respect, it's a love, it's an appreciation, and it's also immediately you become a protector of that same earth.
Tush in the Bush is kind of the epitome of Chris and Lisa. The bushman, the Rasta, the down-to-earth with the shishi fufu, New York, Beijing, Brooklyn girl.
Working with my wife is a powerful experience. She will work from sunrise to sunset. She will work out everybody here, including me. Sometimes I have to hide, but that energy is what makes us do what we do and do it very well. I say we are the best at what we do because we are probably the only people doing exactly what we do. An experience where you can come into someone's home or someone's farm, dine with them, learning about the medicinal plants, you're learning about all different types of food, and I can guarantee you, the food you get here, you won't get anywhere else in Jamaica. That I know for sure. Good afternoon. How you doing? Blessed. People just dig a genuine experience. And for us, this is our home. And when we welcome you into our home, we welcome you like one of the family.
It's just who we are. It's what we do. It's what we put forth. Food is at the base of it. Why not have it be its very best?
Okay, guys, here we go.
And why not have it filled with pure love in it? It's a love for Jamaica, a love for the land, a love for great food, and being able to share that experience with other people. That's what you take in when you're at Tush in the Bush.
First two ingredients on all our products, love and affection. Those are the first two ingredients, but I always assume that people know that. I don't even mention it. See, just like Stout. If he hears the certain word love and just gets excited. Okay, boy. All right. Okay. Love you too. Yeah, man.
Okay, thank you. If you could just bring up back the slides. Okay, so now you understand the type of review that is presented on this slide. And if you go on TripAdvisor for this particular site, which is in a deep rural location, it's almost as if people have an out-of-body experience when they go there. And so that gives you an example of what is possible when you leave the beach in the Caribbean. As you saw, you didn't see any beaches at Sushi in the Bush. But next slide, please. So what I would have shown you with the brief video is one of the examples of why we at ECOC are promoting agritourism, because it allows for you to have special experiences that you would not normally have as a tourist visiting a beach resort. And we recognize that the tourism sector in the Caribbean has actually become the dominant sector in recent decades. The tourism sector in 2022 in the Caribbean received approximately 28 million tourist visitors. And this was almost 90% of pre-COVID tourism arrivals. So you see the quick bounce back that was mentioned earlier. So it shows you how resilient tourism is after, for example, such a devastating world event such as COVID. But on the other hand, unfortunately, agricultural development has not been as buoyant as the tourism sector for a myriad of reasons which are shown on this slide, right? Fragmented agricultural stakeholders, external shocks, hurricanes, international competition, dependence on a few main crops, and so forth. And so we promote stronger linkages because we see it as a win-win for both the agriculture and the tourism sector. Next slide, please. And several of the speakers prior to me would have mentioned some of the benefits of, greater linkages between agriculture and tourism. And I'm going to mention, just focus on one or two of the points that are listed on this slide. So, for example, the expanded sale of agricultural commodities. In the 2022 that I would have mentioned, the number of visitors, that number of visitors is associated with approximately 36 to 37 million US dollars in expenditure. A large proportion of the tourist expenditure is on food, right? And so if we have greater amounts of local food heading into our hotels, then the multiplier effect across the rural communities is significant in terms of revenue, income, employment, etc. And then also further down the list, if you look at the issue of revaluing the rural way of life, and the point was made earlier as well, that rural areas in particular really are reservoirs of our culture and heritage, especially in relation to the food that we eat. And however, these can be taken for granted by the same people who exist in those rural communities until someone from outside comes in to appreciate it and value it. And so tourism can be seen as a great conserver because it helps to preserve the heritage that otherwise could become lost. And then the final point is critical. It strengthens the tourist offer. The brief video I would have shown, those sorts of reviews that you saw on the slide, you don't get for your average tourism experience on the beach, right? It's something special that's going to give you those types of reviews. Next slide, please. And so when we speak about agritourism linkages, I like to look at it at two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is how do we increase the supply of local foods to the tourism market. And there are several hurdles that prevent a greater supply, right? I mean, some of them being, we have heard hotels complaining that there's insufficient quality and consistency of supply of local produce. There's poor supply chain logistics. There's need to incentivize hotels to source locally. And so there's a myriad of challenges that we need to overcome. And on this slide, I'm looking at some of the ways in which we can start to solve these problems. So for example, there's need for increased dialogue between the hotel sector and the farming sector, looking at product specifications, understanding seasonality and the schedule of crop production, sensitizing chefs to the benefits of producing locally. And then on farm now, there's need to streamline how we produce better agronomic practices, food safety practices, traceability. Post-harvest is a big issue. There's insufficient skills, so we need to raise the game when it comes to post-harvest management and supply chain logistics. The distribution mechanisms to make it easier to get produce from deep rural areas into the hotel sector, right? So those are some of the things that we need to focus on if we want to get more local food into the hotel sector. Next slide, please. The other side of this coin, as other persons would have also have mentioned, is bringing tourists into rural areas. And so I reintroduce you to Fred the tourist. So Fred the tourist has actually gotten lost. He has left the beach and has no idea what to do with himself. But there's an adventure waiting for Fred. Various plantation, farm, estate tours, wellness, ecotourism, farm-to-table experiences, and of course, heritage and culture. Next slide, please. And so his first experience, he books upon, farm and plantation tours. And in the Caribbean, you'll find a couple of them, particularly around what we deem as our traditional export crops. And those would have been the plantation crops and also that legacy of the slavery era. The mass production of crops around cocoa for chocolate, sugar, which gives you sugar cane, which gives you sugar and rum, coffee. Next slide, please. But then what about things like mango? I recently, as recent as last week, was doing an agritourism lecture for women in the Twin Island of St. Kitts and Nevis. And when I asked them, what is your emblematic food crop? What would you build, an agritourism experience about? And everybody chimed in, mango. I was expecting to hear one of our export crops, but no, it was mango. And apparently they have a Nevis mango festival, and they have a really attractive website about it. And the thing about it is, I thought to myself, we also need to build these agritourism experiences about what is truly Caribbean, because it's hard to imagine a summer in the Caribbean without mango. It's so essential to our culture and how we live our lives in the Caribbean. Next slide, please. And then there are, wellness. This is an example of a biodynamic farm. You may have to Google after my presentation for what is biodynamic in Barbados. And so it gives you an idea of what is possible in terms of wellness. Next slide, please. And then this is ecotourism. This is a national trail in Dominica that spans the entire island. Next slide, please. And then this is a cultural tourism experience. And this is called the St. Joe Sensei, and it's about masquerades that have an African retention. And we are losing that part of our culture. And someone who actually participated in a rural tourism course reached out to me after the course to see how could she develop this in rural communities in Dominica. And it's something that we're actually working on. I will come to the end of my presentation, and just to say that, at ECO, we have a vision of agritourism being inclusive of different farms and farmers and taking into account national food supply requirements that address the need to shift consumer demands. And we look forward to further partnerships and how we can create more sustainable use of our natural resources to showcase these unique cultural and environmental heritage of the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shona, for such an insightful presentation. Now we're going to continue with Enrique Hennings from IFAD, who will share his perspectives on opportunities and best practices in agritourism.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
A little, you're cutting a little, Enrique. Can you try again?
Can you hear me now? My connection is not that great, but Can you hear us?
Do you happen to have a headset? Because there's a lot of echo and we can't hear you properly.
Can you hear now?
No, we're still struggling. How about in the interest of time, we move on with Carlota and you can check your audio settings and we can come back to you. Thank you, Enrique. So let's move on to Carlota Morales, who from Planeterra, who will tell us about how we can uplift communities through agritourism. Welcome, Carlota.
Hola, buenos días. Creo que por ahí tienen mi...
Hello, good morning. I think you have my presentation over there. It's a pleasure for me to be here, sharing with you and representing what Planeterra has been doing worldwide. I am just the representative at the Central American level, the Caribbean, and North America. So I will share a little bit what Planeterra is doing, how we do it. Essentially, what we do is we promote community tourism. Please move on to the next slide. As I mentioned, we are a non-profit organization that is focused on improving community tourism. Our efforts are on connecting communities and also to have a direct impact on the communities through tourism. We have been working for more than 15 years with this model. And really, we have been able to verify that we've had many, many successes with the members we work with, our partners, our members. Our focus is to work to see a world where people create their own economic opportunities, including original people, and really salvaging everything that in rural communities and in communities in general, highlighting culture and the essence of a country or of a community or the people who live there. Next slide, please. So, what is community tourism? For us, it's precisely this. It is travel experiences that are led and run by communities, by a group of people. These can be nonprofits, cooperatives, social enterprises. But the most important thing is that these communities usually don't have access to large-scale economic opportunities. And so through community tourism, they manage to establish a successful enterprise. Now, obviously, this encompasses, of course, agritourism. Most of our partners focus on some type of agriculture that is connected with the rest of the experiences that they offer. Next slide, please.
Okay, bueno, esto es un poco para hablarles como del modelo que tiene.
This is just to tell you a little bit about Planeterra's work model. We work with large-scale tourism enterprises, and then through them, we make sure that the community members that we work with, aside from having a successful business, may also have their customers. So we identify local community enterprises and we work together with them. We partner with them to identify what needs they have. Sometimes all they need is to find the customers. So we help them find the customers. But other times we need to help them enhance their infrastructure, provide them with training. And so we focus on all of these important aspects as well. As we identify stakeholders, as we identify their needs, and we work together with them to improve them, and therefore we connect them with the market. Sometimes we provide them with training, sometimes we provide them with grants so that they can do these enhancements, and we connect them to the market. Also, Planet Terra, that's why we call them partners, because all of these communities, all of these organizations, then join the Planet Terra network forever. We provide them with mentoring through our global tourism network, global community tourism network, where we share information, provide updates, and we also provide customized assistance to each one of them on a monthly basis. This has been Planet Terra's impact throughout the years. We have been working with more than 450 community tourism experiences throughout the world. All of these businesses are 100% successful in what we have focused on. These are some of the figures as far as the money that was invested in these communities through our corporate partners and the money that Planet Terra raises worldwide, because we are a nonprofit, so people support us. And more than 700,000 travelers have been hosted by our partners. And the figures are growing. The idea for us is to continue connecting with the traditional tourism industry, to connect more and more with community tourism and, of course, agritourism. Now, the Planet Terra's vision for community tourism is that we wanted to have a real impact on the livelihood of people. So we are trying to change lives. And this can be seen in our communities. So when, for example, women in rural communities often have to migrate to find a job. So if we see that there's a sustainable, strong business in a community, then women will be able to stay in the community. The men, the youth will be able to stay in the community. And they'll be able to have valuable jobs there. So that is one of the advantages. So women obviously start having jobs outside the home. Communities also become more sustainable because they start valuing the community environment around them more. Or it might be a forest, or it might be crops, but they start valuing the environment around them more, because that is also what tourists come over to see. So the community, if you don't have a school, people start looking there, so they develop a school and other organizations can reach out. The youth also, they acquire new abilities. There's new sources of employment for them, but especially sustainable income for communities. True cultural celebration, their original culture of the community. Also, many women in these communities take on leadership roles, and that is something that can be highlighted. Next slide, please.
Bueno, quería comentarles sobre algunos de nuestros.
I wanted to mention about some of our partners. I wanted to mention particularly about our partner in Costa Rica, which is a very important agritourism project for us. It is called My Cafecito Coffee Tour. It is the experience of a coffee tour, but it's non-commercial. So there you go, and the person explaining the experience is the same person who works the land, is the owner of the farm, and this cooperative, it is a very big cooperative in San Miguel, Sarapiquí, Costa Rica, and within this cooperative, there are 137 small producers, out of which 5% are women. And the impact that this cooperative has in the communities in San Miguel de Sarapiquí and in the neighboring communities is very big. They have also tried to intertwine and bring along the handcrafts, those who make handcrafts, and some of those handcrafts made locally are also handled there. And they also have a restaurant where they offer food that are quite delicious and made with the products from the farm. And in this case, coffee is the main product, but we also have cassava, and they work with fair trade. They have managed to reach that level in which their products have been certified as fair trade. So this is an example of big success. And when they started working with us, an earthquake took place in Cinchona, Sarapiquí. And so they pretty much had to rebuild from scratch things. And now they now have a very successful cooperative that welcomes many, many tourists or travelers per year with their coffee tour, and they will come and buy their products. And they also protect a large part of the forest that is part of the land of the cooperative. And within that protected area, they also have many trails where people can go and do hiking that also supplements everything that they do. Next, please. I believe I'm done. For now, yes, that's the end. And thank you very much. And here's the information, the contact information of Planet Terrace. So it was a pleasure to share this information with you today.
Very much, Carlota, for sharing such an inspiring work that you're doing. Let's get back to Enrique. Enrique, if you have a proper audio setting now, we can go over to you.
I hope I do. Can you hear me now better?
Yeah, it is better now. Thank you.
Sorry about that, but my internet connection is not well today. Let me share the screen, please. Can you see the screen now?
Not yet.
Now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks again. I'm sorry for the communications. Thanks for the invitation and for giving us the space to do a bit of a presentation of what IFA does. My name is Enrique Hennings. I'm the head of the country office in Panama, and it's a pleasure to be here. In terms of an outline of the presentation, well, I'm going agritourism is important. I'm going to give you some examples of Brazil, another one from Honduras, and then some of the neighboring conditions and ideas that we have in this area. What I think is a good investment, and especially from the development perspective. No? We think it helps to link better rural areas with the urban areas, given the value to local assets such as waterfalls, archaeological sites, cultural heritage, production practice, ancestral knowledge, and local food that helps to rediscover flavors that might be disappearing. You know? It contributes to reduce food insecurity and improve nutrition by improving the income of population and hopefully the diversity of the crops. It helps to generate a cultural identity and pride and helps to reduce or even sometimes to avoid migration. It helps to recover the value of ancestral practice.
Enrique, can I interrupt you and ask you to make your presentation full screen so that we can see all of it? We just have it in the Can you change it to presentation? Yes.
I'm trying to, but
that's perfect. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
I don't know. Okay. Now can you see, no?
It changed back. You need to share specifically the screen.
I don't know where yeah.
You need to share the screen. That's exactly the presentation mode.
Yeah, I am doing that, but it goes back. I don't know why.
So go into the full screen presentation mode first and then share that screen there, Enrique.
I have done this before. I don't know. Can you share that the presentation for me? Probably is better.
Yes. Can we share his? Yes, we will share it from our end. You just tell us next when you want to change slide. Do we have it here or? Yeah? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, you should have.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Enrique.
You go to slide number 3, please. Perfect, thank you. What I was saying is a little bit why we think it's a good idea or a good investment, no, from the development side, no. It helps to avoid migration by generating cultural identity and pride, no. We also think that it helps to recover the value of ancestral practices, knowledge, and flavors. It increases the value that people give to tourism assets, no. It contributes to maintain and hopefully to increase biodiversity and help to the transition to the sustainable food systems, no. If you can go to the next one, please. Okay, let me now share a little bit one experience that we had in Brazil, in the lower area of San Francisco, a region in Sergipe. This is the smallest state in Brazil, no? This initiative was led by the government of Sergipe and supported by partners, including IPAD, and aimed to bring eco-friendly community-based tourism to this area. This was a 4-year project that benefited more than 60,000 people, and also it has a strong focus on women and youth, no? If you can go to the next one, please. In particular, this project in Don Távora, it helps, it aims at developing agricultural and non-agricultural business for poor producers groups, such as eco-friendly, community-based tourists to this area. The region is crossed by the San Francisco River. It's more than 3,000 kilometers waterway that has inspired poets and storytellers for centuries, no? That is why through a lush of tropical landscapes, no? It built the capacity of a rural business promotion through training and partnership with local institutions and universities. And we managed to do through this project a rural sustainable tour route that was created. It was an itinerary which include visits to 4 communities in the lower basins with activities such as river cruisers, hiking trails into the woods, dining and freshly caught fish at a local restaurant, and exploring handcraft treasures from local artisans. No? The route also encompasses fishing workshops where tourists can gain insight into the local ways of life of sustainable practices. No, additional, the project supported the construction of a cultural culinary center, working closely with local fisheries and farmers. No, the sustainable tour route wasn't just about tourism. No, it was about engaging youth and local markets and integrated various economic sectors like life, hospitality, craftsmanship, and gastronomy. No. Let's next move to the next one. That is another example that we have. Skip that one because that's. Please go to the next one. It was a better. Go to the next one, please. Okay. This is the other example that I wanted to talk with you. That is a grant that we had in Honduras, Colombia, and Bolivia, Puentes. This grant was financed by IFAD and implemented by Eco Connection Latin America, a Dutch NGO. The overall goal of this program was to promote employment for youth and improve the nutrition level of this social group and their environments by strengthening rural-urban linkages with gastronomy and the hospitality sector. No, this was, even though this was not a big investment, it had a lot of impact in the youth market. No. This initiative was especially for young people in these three countries. It has also an Afro-descendant and indigenous focus, and also for people with low incomes in rural areas and semi-urban areas. No, it reached more than 4,000 youth and trained them in the culinary sector and in the gastronomy sector. No, let me go to the next slide if you can. Some of the best practices that emerged from this project were first the mobile cooking school for rural population and gastronomy tourism course. These schools were fully equipped to provide training in gastronomy with a focus on local identity, product transformation, nutrition, and other opportunities in each territory. No, gastronomic tourism courses included educational programs centered around the food system and its appreciation. No, that is important. These initiatives help to reevaluate local products and empower young people. We around these activities, we develop some food festivals and culinary events which often attract tourism and visitors interested in exploring local culture through food. This can boost tourism in the region and encourage cultural exchange, which in turn can have a positive economic impact. And we saw this directly in, for example, Esperanza in Honduras, that now is becoming a center for visiting these type of restaurants that are recovering a lot of the ancestral recipes. No. Another thing that we managed to do with this project was to create a digital community on technology and innovation solutions that enhance the access to education and promote the job creations and entrepreneurship for peri-urban and rural youth. We managed to reach around 8,000 young individuals. Also, we managed to do a competitions with YouTubers. So we have the rural YouTubers. We have a competition that we selected 3 young people from each country, and we make a competition to see which one had the better outreach. No, but it was very unique experience for everything. I think we're running out of time, so let me go quickly to the next slide. And it's finally try to explain a bit what IFAD is trying to do in the rural areas to promote the agritourism. But IFAD investments in this agritourism space are trying to improve the enabling conditions, no, by investing in infrastructure, sustainable production, climate change, and trying to do the transition to a sustainable food systems. No, we aim to reduce also the technology gap between rural areas and urban areas by investment in information systems, and also in connectivity. And lately we're putting a lot of emphasis on investing in financial and non-financial services, for example, in agri-tech and fintech companies, to try to improve the services that are being provided in rural areas, especially around digital payments, credit, insurances that help the production in these areas that also attract the and let me stop there and yeah.
Thank you very much, Enrique. There were so many experiences to be shared in this panel, so much more to explore, and unfortunately we don't have more time for the questions. There's so much more we want to learn. Let's do another much longer event next time. So I'm going to thank you, our panelists, and thank you all here for listening in. And I just want to share with you before we move on to the next panel. We are launching the website of the Caribbean Agritourism website. So I added this QR code for you. We have it over here as well so that you can visit it, because this is a hub of information for everyone that wants to find resources about agritourism, guides for a successful business. You also can find it in your name tags, because I'm going to stop sharing now so that I can show you the actual website really quickly. So here we have it. So you can find resources, you can find webinars, you can find the news. Like, for example, we just launched a new contest on agritourism, so check that out in the news and resources section. And we have a map where we can show the agritourism initiatives from the region. So you can click on them and find out what are the offerings there. So I'll let you explore it on your own, and let's move on to the next panel. Thank you very much.
grito del tucán, ni el meditar de la lechuza, ni el canto de alcaraván. Que nunca se cansen las loras, ni las chachalacas de gritar. Que los martines pescadores tengan ríos para pescar. Que el cielo se manche de garzas y de pelícanos el mar.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Seguimos con esta segunda.
Well, thank you all. And we're going to continue with the second part of this webinar. Everything that we have seen so far has been truly inspiring in the Caribbean. And in the second segment, we have invited two experts who will be talking about the importance of the creation and implementation of public policies for the development of agritourism initiatives, and then we'll take a look at the demand of the Canadian market. How does the Canadian tourist react towards our ever-growing agritourism in our region? So we have first Mr. Growy, who has studies in agribusinesses. He's a president of the Latin American Association of Rural Tourism. This is Mariano Milani. He will talk about the importance of the implementation of public policies for the development of initiatives of agritourism. Mariano, the floor is yours.
Buenos días. ¿Sí me escuchan?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Excellent. So I'm going to share my presentation. Please let me know if you can see it.
Perfecto. Y entiendo que tengo 10
Perfect. I understand that I have 10 minutes for my presentation. Yes, that's correct. So thank you very much to all the different authorities from the organizations that have organized this dialogue. A very interesting dialogue. I feel truly honored to be with all of you here today. As you can see, my presentation in Spanish and my presentation, but we have interpretation, so I'm going to try not to repeat some of the concepts that have already been mentioned so in such an interesting way so far.
Y probablemente en estos 10 minutos, además
And during these 10 minutes, aside from telling you what we think from Alatour that has to have an agritourism, rural tourism, just to give you an idea in what we have in Alatour, it would be good for what my expectations are for today. I hope that it's also good for you too. So, let me tell you what the Latin American Association of Rural Tourism thinks. So this is a picture of any family from Latin America. It can be a family from Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, the north of Argentina, my country, who are experiencing a number of challenges, of course. They stopped living in a completely rural area to live in an urban world. And one of their children may be considering leaving the farm, leaving the countryside, the rural area, probably because their economic activity is not generating the necessary resources for this entire family to support itself. So probably they are analyzing that possibility. But different organizations such as ours can get close to them and tell them, well, agritourism may be an option for you to stay in your farm, for you to add value to your production, for you to have the opportunity to sell directly your food, and for you to have the opportunity to preserve your culture and also convey it and transfer it to visitors, for you to have the opportunity to strengthen your production and develop a brand. For women, and particularly the youth, have the new opportunities in the farm. So many of these statements are benefits that agritourism can give us, and these are some of the things that we have heard about so far. So allow me to go over a definition of by financed by ICA several years ago for Latin America and Argentina that had this definition for agritourism. It says that this is the tourist activity carried out in rural areas that uses resources that come from agriculture, agro-industry, handcraftsmanship, gastronomy, and connected rail activities, together with the attraction from nature, natural environment, and interrelation with the local population. So why not carry out this kind of activity, taking into consideration all the benefits it provides? So, again, this is a form of tourism in rural areas that enhances the value of resources for agriculture, agroindustry, handicrafts, gastronomy, and related activities together with the natural and cultural attraction of the territory. So this is something that can be done in the farm. There may be infrastructure to provide lodging. They may look at the family recipes of their ancestors and their grandmothers, and they may decide what to include in the menu that they will be offering to the tourists. They may also have this menu linked directly to sustainable production practices, as mentioned today in the morning. And this is also part of what attracts people. And other activities may be incorporated as well, such as the crop, the production of the food, the preparation of a menu in a collaborative manner. So this is an agritourism offer that can make all the opportunities become a reality. And we should not forget that this can be uploaded to the social media so that people can hear about it and want to visit their establishment. So this that I just mentioned as a possible development of agritourism in some of our countries is something that we see oftentimes in Alatur. And we're just concerned about something, that once this family opens their services to agritourism, and they can obtain these results in terms of visits.
No viene nadie.
Zero. Nobody comes. And you wonder, why? Why does this happen? Why did we do all of this effort and the tourists have not come? Why nobody visits us? And our concern is that sometimes we forget who we do this for. From the development of public policies to academic research to the investments. This interpreter, I'm sorry, it's cutting out.
Los protagonistas que son los agricultores en este tipo de proyectos, hay otro protagonista, otro tipo de protagonistas fundamentales que son los viajeros y que son los turistas. Y que si nosotros no los consideramos desde el minuto
And
cero,
if we don't take them into consideration, if we don't take into consideration tourists in the drafting of our offer, of our proposal, then we might not have the right success or the success that we expected. And that's the main message I would like to convey today. And this is the idea that when we develop public policies and investments, for this change of livelihood that this change represents for a farmer opening the doors of their home to receive tourists, for it to be a successful one. Okay, so we need to incorporate an additional view to these projects, and that's the view of the traveler, of the tourist. Oftentimes, we think that our projects are like this picture of the farm, and we say of the farm in the rural area. And so, but we need to see from the farm out.
poder ponernos los anteojos de los turistas.
We need to put on our tourist glasses so that whatever we developed in terms of tours, in terms of offers, in terms of service, is aligned with what they'll see in the rest of this panel related to demand, with that visitor who will be coming. What are his fears? What are what are his tastes, what are his interests, and so that there's a proper communion between what we want to offer and what the tourist wants as an experience. We need to be able to merge the tourist perspective from point zero when we are developing our public policies or agritourism projects or rural tourism projects. Because if we don't do that, then perhaps success might not be so close at hand. I've had the ability to participate in many panels, in consultancy projects, many activities that show us that agritourism and rural tourism is a tool that adds a lot of value to develop activities like the ones we need today, which are aligned with sustainability, aligned with the challenges that the planet is imposing upon us. And I need to ask you to consider the protection of the environment properly, incorporating society, cultures, the opportunity of generating more work opportunities. But we do all this, and sometimes we forget that these small scale producers need to become small entrepreneurs to generate sufficient economic assets and resources to ensure sustainability in time for these activities. Sometimes, in terms of sustainability, we look at a vehicle like this, like a tricycle. The wheel of the environment is considered uh, the wheel of social development is considered, but oftentimes we forget the economic wheel. We need enterprises to be able to be economically sustainably, to generate the appropriate resources so that they may sustain themselves in time. And what do we need in terms of resources to carry forth an initiative like this? Many people say, what's unique about us? What do our territories have that is unique, that can be attractive to our tourists? And we can say, well, we grow mangoes, we grow coffee, we grow agave, we produce tequila. Here are a few examples of some projects related to cuisine and the food production in the southern part of the continent, Argentina in particular. The path of tea, the path of mate, the route of wine, of cheese, different types of experiences where people can really experience the food, and they have been converted into tourism experiences. We need to have this. It's fundamental for us to have this to carry forth an entrepreneurship project of this kind. But what's most important is the people. What's most important are not the staple food items. Yes, I mean, it is important. We need to have it. But at the end of the day, the most important component is the people. They are the ones who can convert this food into stories, into tourism services that somebody who's in the city may come over and visit, may take on the road and visit, or may get on a plane and come and visit us. That is real, the main differentiating factor that makes agritourism projects sustainable in times. And we need to support people, of course, through grants, through training, through workshops, so that they may incorporate this unique vision and be certain that what they are offering adds value to what a tourist seeks. We need to be able to generate the incentives so that local inhabitants may participate and be key stakeholders in these rural tourism activities and offers.
Necesitamos que generen un entramado que sea lo suficientemente fuerte para que estas iniciativas puedan generar un proceso.
These initiatives need to generate a learning process, mutual learning among peers. And in closing this presentation that I have for you this morning, a few lines more. Multilateral organizations can support these rural farmers and entrepreneurs to have what they need in order to carry forth their activities. Obviously, infrastructure, road signs are fundamental, connectivity to be able to show what we do, how we do it. We need the initiatives from influencers. We need to share on social media. We need to have that connectivity. We need to support them with some small investments and to adapt their offers so that the tourists can visit them. We need to simplify the processes that farmers need to carry out. Sometimes we have the same standards for a five-star hotel or a family of farmers who wants to offer services. That imposes a daunting barrier for farmers to start with these activities. We need to foster the exchange among peers so that the exchange of knowledge is not just drop down, but also bottoms up. And finally, I think the fundamental factor that really can set the wheels spinning in the development of policies for these farmers to be able to offer agritourism services is related to training. We need to strengthen training for the development of agritourism experiences and services that are of value to tourists. I hope that these ideas that might be a bit challenging, might be a bit uncomfortable, that I brought to this forum might compel us to take action so that all of the promises that agritourism has for us, when turned into real-time projects, can be brought one step closer to success, can be brought one step closer to adding value, because we need this. And obviously, what we need to do is take the first step. We need to stop having just a conversation about this and turn it into a fact, because a long journey becomes shorter the moment we take the first step. So I invite you to move from words to action. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish you a great the rest of the day. Thank you very much, Mariano. Thank you very much, Mariano. I think it's very important to make that key differentiating strategy in public policy to achieve clear positioning in terms of agritourism. Up next, I have the honor to introduce Diana Palmerin Velasco. She is the Senior Director from the Future of Work for the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. She focuses on inclusion, migration, Indigenous affairs. Diana is the Director in Sociology and has a master's degree in Social Psychology from the Northern School of Economics. She will tell us a little bit about the Canadian demand in terms of agritourism. Diana, please. Thank you, Ambassador.
My name is Diana Palmerin Velasco. I am the Senior Director of Future of Work at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We are Canada's largest and most influential business association. We represent 400 chambers of commerce and boards of trade, as well as more than 200,000 businesses of all sizes, spanning every sector of the economy and all regions of the country. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you today and talk a little bit about agritourism in Canada. So, agritourism is a dynamic and growing industry that bridges the gap between urban and rural Canada, connecting people with the origins of their food while providing diverse economic and cultural benefits to communities. Today, I will just present a very general overview of the opportunities agritourism presents for farmers, for communities, but also for Canada's Indigenous peoples. Agritourism in Canada offers a wide range of experiences, making it a truly multifaceted adventure. From digging for clams in Nova Scotia to berry picking in Quebec, visitors can immerse themselves in the Canadian agricultural landscape and engage directly with local growers and their produce. Travelers can enrich their experience by visiting farmers markets, participating in educational tours about on-farm production, purchasing fresh produce from farm stands, and savoring farm-fresh meals. For those seeking a more hands-on approach, U-Peak Farms invite visitors to harvest their fruits and vegetables, while on-farm bed and breakfasts provide a unique opportunity for overnight stays immersed in the rural lifestyle. Moreover, Canadian agritourism is not limited to traditional farming activity. It encompasses non-farm experiences such as mushroom foraging and aquatic harvesting, often incorporating indigenous traditions and practices. Canadian agritourism encourages visitors to urban destinations to explore the smaller nearby communities and interact directly with local growers. It is a sustainable way to diversify travelers from larger urban destinations into the smaller communities nearby. The significance of agritourism in Canada goes beyond leisure. It serves as a catalyst for economic development and cultural preservation. Canadian businesses and policymakers recognize its potential to promote development, resilience, and innovation in rural areas. By diversifying income sources, agritourism reduces dependence on volatile agricultural markets, providing financial stability for farmers. On-farm employment opportunities are created for community members and younger generations, contributing to local economies. At the same time, agritourism preserves cultural heritage and promotes economic development, bridging the gap between urban and rural Canada. The demand for agritourism is on the rise in Canada, reflecting a global trend towards eco-friendly and health-conscious tourism. According to a report by Future Market Insights, worldwide demand for agritourism is predicted to grow at a rate of 5.8% from 2023 to 2033. According to a study by the University of Waterloo, approximately 29% of tourists in Canada already engage in some form of rural tourism, with agritourism being a significant component. This growing interest presents promising opportunities for both farmers and travelers alike. While agritourism is happening across Canada, certain regions do stand out as agritourism strongholds. Ontario and the prairies, with their strong agricultural ties and government-sponsored initiatives, attract a substantial agritourist population. These regions offer unique experiences that allow urban residents to connect with the countryside, connect with local growers, and connect with indigenous traditions. The success of agritourism in these areas underscores the importance of regional culture and assets in shaping the industry. Understanding the Canadian agritourist is crucial to the industry's growth. They are typically environmentally conscious consumers in their early 40s with small families. These individuals are seeking experiential vacations involving culture, nature, and learning. Agritourism allows them to discover the origins of their foods firsthand, participate in workshops, and engage with farmers and local traditions. This alignment with responsible tourism and cultural immersion highlights the potential for agritourism to benefit local economies, preserve agricultural land, and offer sustainable tourism experiences. During the COVID-19 pandemic, agritourism venues became increasingly popular as they were safe outdoor destinations for Canadians and their families to spend quality time. This trend has reshaped travel dynamics, with Canadians now prioritizing road trips over air travel, particularly when it comes to culinary tourism. Even in this post-pandemic era, domestic Canadian travelers are still seeking out places to explore that are closer to home, opening up opportunities for the development of agritourism activities. To ensure the sustainable growth of agritourism, collaboration among diverse stakeholders and all levels of governments is crucial. Inclusive decision-making and support for farmers are essential. Reducing regulatory burdens and investing in rural infrastructure can create a positive economic environment for agritourism to thrive. Lastly, indigenous agritourism is an exciting and rapidly growing segment of this industry. It provides visitors with immersive cultural experiences. Visitors usually engage in creative workshops, such as crafting corn husk dolls or learning aquatic harvesting techniques, which offer hands-on opportunities for tourists to actively participate in indigenous traditions. Tasting local indigenous ingredients and learning about indigenous culinary recipes have gained widespread interest across Canadian target markets. 1 in 3 international visitors to Canada are seeking indigenous tourism experiences, highlighting the global interest in this sector. Most importantly, indigenous agritourism fosters cross-cultural understanding and appreciation, promoting respect and appreciation for indigenous peoples and their contributions to Canada. In conclusion, agritourism is a growing industry that holds immense potential for Canada. It connects urban, rural, and indigenous communities, promotes sustainable tourism, and offers economic and cultural benefits. As we look to the future, agritourism will continue to thrive, driven by the demand for authentic experiences, responsible consumption, and a desire to connect with the roots of our food. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope this has provided a general overview of agritourism in Canada. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Diana. Pues con esta
Thank you very much, Diana. With this vision, we realize that really there is a big demand and there's a supply. Now, how do we connect one to the other? And precisely based on what Mariano had mentioned, hopefully we can work together to really join this supply with the demand. I invite my fellow ambassadors to join me at the main table. We will continue now with some concrete examples from our region, from Central America, the countries, so that they can tell us a little bit about how they've developed their activities and what their perspective on the future of agritourism in Central America is like.
Ah oui, d'accord. Non, elle participe pas.
Gisela. ¿Quieres ir a él? Embajadora. ¿Quién nos falta? No se va a sentar en Honduras, pero no se va a sentar en Honduras. Entonces Honduras no se sienta. ¿Qué hacemos? ¿Nos corremos y dejamos Honduras o qué hacemos?
No, que sí, que se corre, que se una después ahí antes de Honduras, Víctor, allá.
No sé.
Se va a caer si se muere.
Bueno, tenemos el placer de contar con.
We have the honor to have 5 representatives from the countries of SICA, and we'll start with Jorge Fallas Cascante, the chairman of the Rural Chamber of Tourism of Costa Rica. Then we have the representative of the Small Hotels Chamber of El Salvador, then Damarco Moreno from the Sustainable Tourism Commission of Guatemala. Then we have Ricardo Coiner, the owner of the Café of Panama Association, and then we continue with Tira Bermenton from Provincial Tourism from the Dominican Republic. We will continue now. Here are our panelists. Greetings to all. Great to have you all here with us. We start with Costa Rica. Jorge Fallas Cascante. Jorge is a biologist. He's an expert in developing research for environmental topics in tourism, with experience in hotel management, and currently provides consultancy services to small rural community entrepreneurs in Costa Rica. So, Jorge, as the chairman of the Rural Tourism Chamber, what are the benefits for agritourism for local communities, and how can we strengthen the engagement by local communities so that they may start getting involved in rural tourism? Good morning from Costa Rica, and as we say over here, pura vida. I would like, before starting, I'd like to answer the question. Before I answer your question, I would like to explain the name of the chamber. Actually, the name of the chamber is Chamber of Rural Experiences, which encompasses agritourism and rural tourism in Costa Rica. And we called it Rural Experiences because we, in the countryside, in rurality, what we're selling is an experience that is agricultural, is an experience of life, of wellness, of adrenaline. It's a whole range of concepts, which is why we've called it the Chamber of Rural Experiences. The next slide, please, so that I can start answering your question. I don't want to stop on this too long because I think several people before me already I've referred to the definition, so let's go on to the next slide. Now I'd like to speak specifically in relation to your question. Benefits, we've already covered the benefits actually. Other people have mentioned the benefits of agritourism as terms of wellness, physical and psychological wellness. It transports us to re-experience memories maybe from our childhood when we used to visit our grandparents out in the countryside, when we would go and pick coffee or milk cows, etc., etc. But in any event, another benefit is also to foster the conservation of local culture and the environment. We've already discussed, the people before me have mentioned
los programas del campo a la mesa.
The farm to table programs. There are some other examples, but I would like to answer based on what happens in Costa Rica through the following slide. In Costa Rica, we're speaking here of the farmer, as farming as a tourism activity. But tourism companies as such, companies that actually tend to the tourists or a restaurant, I don't like to use the word restaurant, but I would say gastronomic establishments, culinary establishments, they are the ones who will help us develop the value chain. So the Costa Rican Tourism Institute, together with a foundation called Funde Cooperation, have developed these 6 main topics. I will refer to the topic that in Costa Rica we have tourism sustainability certificate for the whole value chain, from the transporter, the guide, the hotel, food and beverages, tourism, transport. We all work with tourism sustainability certificates. But when we buy these products from the countryside, we can guarantee to the customer that these are the best products. There's a few others that you can read here. Potentially, these presentations will be shared with you, but in answer to your question with regards to the benefits, these are the ones that we mentioned. Thank you. Thank you. And just one final question, very briefly, because we only have 6 minutes per lecturer. What have been the investments that Costa Rica has made, and in what sectors, to develop agritourism? Just briefly. Okay, Costa Rica, since 2009, has Law 8724, which is to strengthen rural community tourism. Last year, the Chamber of Rural Experiences presented a modification, which is included in Project 23156, which you can find on the web. And support has been considerable through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock in Costa Rica, from NGOs, Funde Cooperación, the Costa Rican Tourism Institute, and other institutions that have cooperated in strengthening this sector. Policies are wide-ranging, but oftentimes they get diluted. And one other matter is that at the local level, at the community level, institutions with some excellent intentions may show up, but sometimes we do not know how to leverage these things from a rural perspective. We need greater click in these different cogs in the machinery. Thank you for your participation. Now we have Leonor de Castellano, the chair of the Small Hotel Association of El Salvador, and also the director of Ecomeyer Tour, and who has worked together with the Salvadoran Tourism Association. We will talk a little bit more in depth about promotion now. Leonor, what are the strategies for marketing, promotion that you deem are important for developing agritourism in our region? Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Yes, look, social media, for example, tourism operators, even airlines, the various means to promote are all good. But all of this does not matter if the content of what is published is not what should be. The content is perhaps the most important component because if a small scale hotel speaks of what's around it, its services as such, without lying, of course, meaning we can provide a service, even if it's simple, but it can be high quality, clean, safe, share with people who come, visitors, an experience that is pleasant, that is excellent, even if we're not a five-star hotel. So that experience needs to be authentic. I think that's the key for everything. An authentic experience. My son always says that the daily life of certain people can be the unique experience for others. And I think that this is one way of expressing tourism in a different way because it really conveys the authenticity of people, the authenticity of locations, of the activities themselves. I think that is very important. And I think that that is the way of being able to promote ourselves, what we need to do as small hotels. The small hotels, speaking of El Salvador, in rural areas, have mostly experienced weekend tourism. So that's where we need to step in order to establish tourism throughout the whole time, throughout the whole week. If we promote ourselves properly, picture this, the government is really good at promoting our beaches. Our beaches are always packed. So we need to also be great at promoting our hotels located in small towns, in rural areas, and then we will also have a large branch of visitors there.
Thank you very much, Leonor. I understand that you organized the 8th meeting for rural tourism that is going to take place from November 6th to 10th. Can you tell us briefly about that meeting and what is the target audience for that? Yes, thank you. Be brief, please. Thank you. Yes. This meeting for rural tourism in its 8th version, our strategy of the headquarters established in Spain, and this is the 8th meeting. This is for rural tourism. It's an exchange of experiences where you can do business, where you can sign agreements, where partnerships can develop, because not only governments attend or companies, but also organizations that come and want to see how we can improve the livelihood, quality of life of the rural areas in our countries. And we believe that rural tourism is the option because We have agritourism, which is a big part of all of this. You already mentioned gastronomy and the farms that exist in all of our towns. So by being well managed, good administration might lead to an agritourism that, aside from respecting the community, can also make sure that they take care of the environment. But everything has to be done in harmony with what we do, with everything that we're doing. I invite you to go to Iberoatur. I'm going to type it in the chat box, but it's iberoatur.org. There you will find all the information of our event that is going to take place from November 6th to November 10th in El Salvador. And I invite you all to come because I believe it is a very good opportunity to be able to develop partnerships, look for partnerships, and do some entrepreneurship and apply everything that's been said so far today and support each other and not only be able to move forward in all these ideas, but to take care of the environment so that all of this is sustainable and regenerative as well. So I'll type in the information in the chat box, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all. I welcome you to El Salvador. Thank you very much, Leonor. Now we're going to continue with Dagmar Moreno, who is the coordinator of the Sustainable Tourism Commission of the Guatemalan Exporters Association. And she has many years of experience in leading sustainable tourism projects, among other things. So we would like her to tell us what are some of the basic ingredients to create memorable, authentic agritourism experiences and some of the things that you consider to be key, indispensable to create a value offer in agritourism in our region. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I would also like to thank ICA and the Embassy of Guatemala in Canada and those of you present here. Yes, the main ingredients. Okay, in order not to repeat what I've said, we would have to think of those that make this agritourism something enriched. We think of tourism companies and those farms that grow things that would like to go into agritourism to start well from the very beginning and do the right planning from the very beginning so that they can provide a good tour. Because what we have found is that sometimes we have agricultural farms that are producing farms and the agricultural establishments are already exporting products. And we have examples of the cardamom farms, leading farms that are amazing farms. That's what they do. That's what they grow. But for you to go into agritourism, you start thinking about this from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Develop a roadmap on how to make sure that the visitor will come back. I like what our colleague Mariano Biliani said. You do all these efforts and at the end people don't come. Why not? Because maybe we're not doing things right from the very beginning. So all these mechanisms of company management so that all the adjustments to be made to see how I'm going to be a visitor, how I'm going to see the plantation from its very beginning, and how I'm going to taste this product at the end. We have some partners in the association from coffee growers where at the end they provide some sample of a coffee, or maybe they provide a sample of honey or coffee with cardamom or maybe they add some ham and cheese to that, and they have to have a script, and the script needs to be repeated in the same way to all visitors. So there's a script where they can talk about the crop, of the entire procedure of the crop, where they talk about how it is grown and to where the product is going to be exported to. You can also include some history data of the family of the farm. There are certain farms that have some houses that are 200 years old. And so all of that together will make a good experience and will entice the person to come back. So the best publicity is to say, I recommend that place. So there are many means, and from TripAdvisor to social media, where people comment. So we need to take care of all that, and these are the main ingredients. In Guatemala, we bind our gastronomy and tourism from our Commission of Sustainable Tourism. We have established that bridge from tourists to those who live in country areas and talk about handicrafts, gastronomy, agri-tours. So we do believe in this design from scratch to be able to have a product that can be exported. And that's how we define it in our Sustainable Tourism Commission. And a question for you. We know Guatemala is well known for its agritourism. And from the governmental standpoint, what has been the strategy that you have implemented and what you think, very briefly, are the key elements for the development of agritourism in Guatemala? Very briefly, please. Yes, thank you. I can tell you that we have a wonderful relationship with the Guatemalan Tourism Institute, our guiding body, and also we have the Q sign, which is a national sign. It's a certification for tourism, just like they do in Costa Rica. And so we work on this for all the different establishments that do this type of tourism. So from our commission, we foster these good practices and we seek these national, international partnerships together with our guiding body to be able to reach SMEs and for these SMEs to be able to develop these agri-tours. We also have worked from the Commission on different clusters with coffee farms, for example, or coffee plantations, and agricultural farms that are located in the capital area and the high part of La Paz. And so we support them in their management, and we do a diagnosis for them to tell them where they are, what they need. And as international experts, we have assisted them with this cluster of coffee farms with our international partners from Swiss Contact so that we can have these international consultancies so that they can have their farms ready to do these agri-tours. And of course, this all involves the sustainable development of the entire production chain, because it's not just the farm is not the only item there. It's the whole community, the community located near the farm. They can benefit from these tours as well. We can have women working and cooking, specializing in something, or handicrafts. And so all this production value chain is attracted, and of course also public-private partnerships with the government, with the private sector, and international partnerships too. Well, thank you very much, Dagmar. That was very clear. So it is important to have those public-private partnerships. Now, I'm going to continue with Ricardo Coiner. He's the owner of Café Tocoa in Panama. He is an agronomist and coffee grower. He has been awarded the Best of Panama award several times in the traditional modality. So, as a businessman, Ricardo, which have been the obstacles that you have encountered when you wanted to add agritourism in your coffee business in Panama? Well, good morning. Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be here and share my experiences with you. We started originally as agritourism, and then we moved towards mountain adventure tourism, or we added that, and then we went to uh, ho- uh, tourism, and when in the 2000, when the coffee crisis was here, we decided that we needed to look for other income sources, and we also levered in hospitality. So we thought of an experience that could help us sell coffee in different ways. So by listening to tourists, and that's very important, we understood that there were other opportunities in other tourist areas. We did a canopy zip line, then we did some hanging bridges, and then people wanted to drink something, so we built a bar. Then people wanted to eat, then we created a restaurant. They wanted to sleep, then we did a hotel. So they just wanted to have more experiences, because after they want after doing having one experience, they want to have others. So that's why we went from coffee, tea, cocoa, and even though cocoa is not grown in the same area as coffee, we do also handle all the part of chocolate business, which is another way of tourism. So by looking at the obstacles that we have faced, one of the most important ones is understanding where we are as a farm and where the tourist is. And that takes us to mobility. We need to find a way, easy ways, practical ways to take the tourists from where they are to where we will be moving. Originally, we used taxis or external people, and we ended up, as we grew, incorporating our own transportation systems. And we also have to understand how we need to adapt the place and what is the investment that will be needed. And this they will depend on what the tourist wants and what we want to convey to the tourist. Another obstacle is having the right narrative. The narrative has to be right internally and externally. Externally is how we sell ourselves, what we tell the person who will be receiving or doing the tour. And once the person understands that clearly, because it's very important to be very clear about everything that they'll be getting, there's nothing worse than a tourist that is expecting something and receives something else. And then we have the internal narrative, how we explain and how we make what we do interesting. Another obstacle in which we had to work hard was training. Training to be able to convey correctly our narrative, and then the language. And we also need to understand that many tourists might not speak Spanish, so we need to incorporate that part too. So if we talk about the lessons learned, we have understood that this is an experience, and it's a connection that we will create between people. The person who is in the farm and the person who is coming to understand what we can do at a certain point in time, and that may be interesting. For that, we need to understand what we have, what the tourist wants, and how I can adapt. And one of the most important problems is that as producers, we always think that we have the best coffee, the best cocoa, and it's true, and that's okay. But how can we put this into a positive context for the tourist? How can we adapt what I have? We also learn to listen to the tourists and validate what they say. Oftentimes, we ask them and we say, we're talking about coffee, and they said, I tried a very good coffee from another country. We sometimes feel like ours is not as good, but we need to validate that and say, yes, what they do, what they tasted was really good, and what we have is a bit different, and why our product is also important. What we cannot do is go and become defensive. We need to be resilient. We need to understand that the tourist change after the pandemic. The flow of tourists change from international to national. They may be looking for something different. Topics also change. Sometimes now people are talking more about the environment, the regenerative agriculture, how we're protecting the environment to sustain our activity. That is something that needs to be incorporated as well. We also need to understand the importance of getting together. Latin Americans are not into getting together much. But there are certain advantages if it's done well, and why it is important to do that, to bring more tourists, to promote a person. But the idea is to aggregate. The purpose of aggregating our efforts has to be clear. Also, competition is not a problem, but it makes us be better. So let's not be afraid of competition. Let's just see where competition is making a mistake so that we can be better in that area. We need to understand the tourist. And sometimes tourists complain and we take it personal. No, that's an error. We need to understand that tourists may have a problem and we need to find for a solution, because a happy tourist is the best way to promote our business. We need to be profitable, but to be profitable, we need to understand where our costs are and how we can make sure that the balances are in our favor. We also need to learn how to diversify and work with tourists. That definitely increases of the sales, and it promotes us with other tourists, but it also allows us to see through the eyes of a tourist or get to know what are other ways to do things that we might not be incorporating. But because of time constraints, I need to stop you. But everything that you're saying is very, very interesting, and there are many, many lessons to take from your experience. Maybe we could have organized a seminar with one of you, and we have much to learn from all of you. And so I apologize, Ricardo, for stopping you. No, no, no problem. I understand clearly, no problem. Now, we're going to continue with Gita Vermington, Director General of Provision Tourism Development of the Ministry of Tourism of the Dominican Republic, and she has many experiences in sales and marketing. So, one question. Dominican Republic is well known for beach tourism and leisure tourism, but I would like to know which are some of the projects that Dominican Republic is developing in agritourism, and which are the indicators that had made you switch to and look for try to develop this type of tourism. Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. The Dominican Republic is known as a destination for sun, beaches, and large hotels. And I think we have done a very hard work in placing our country in the international tourism map. And this is something that I did for many years in my work in tourism. But right now, we're seeing an opportunity to diversify the national tourism product, to diversify what the Dominican Republic is providing as a tourism destination. Because for many years, we have been saying that the Dominican Republic has it all as a slogan. So I'm going to share with you some of the projects that have been successful and that have been developed in different times in an organic way, not because there was an intent by the public sector for this to occur, but we're at the point where the public sector has to create means to promote and support these developments. So we have a cocoa farm. This is the Sendero del Cacao. It's one of the very first agritourism tours projects that existed. So the Dominican Republic is known for its coffee and its cocoa. So it's very it's clear why we had this type of project. So this is a long-standing product that has been there for many generations, and this is another project for cocoa. This is very interesting because aside from being a private farm, this one includes a reserve where you can see this zorzal species that migrates from the U.S. every year. So for those who like bird watching and those who want to experience conservation and preservation of the environment, this is an added value in this farm. This is another project for cocoa. No, it's a community project where we have women that have moved from being housewives to being entrepreneurs. And so that makes us very proud. And they have changed their livelihood and their quality of life through agritourism, and they sell the products that they have. They sell them also in supermarkets at the national level. We have some coffee farms as well, like Ruta del Café Bay in the middle of the Dominican Republic. There's another one like the Hamao Café which is another coffee route, and this includes adventure tourism, because in these farms there are many trails, particularly in those two regions. There are many bodies of water, and there are many possibilities for tourists to do hiking, and so that they get to know the people, the products, and the gastronomy of the place. We also have the route of the honey, which has been developed in the border area in Bajabor, and this is part of the project that has been developed for the past 6 years together with JICA, the Japanese association. We also have the route of banana, and this has been a very successful too, because banana is one of that is highly consumed nationally, but also because of the banana leaves, the trash, that is to say. So these women, artisan women in this area, have been able to create some very authentic handicrafts where they do hats, giveaways, and small products that tourists can take as a souvenir from the Dominican Republic. We have the root of cassava, and this is also something that has been quite successful during the past 10 years. During the pandemic, these people were, their strawberries are being lost, but they decided to open to visitors. Well, basically, someone visited them, and it became viral. And these people started having a very interesting experience since then. We had the southern part of the Dominican Republic with an amazing view of the Caribbean. We have a farm where agritourism is developed based on grapes in the Ocoa Bay wine project. And then we also have the permaculture, which is becoming an interesting thing. We have this Eco Lodge in the Gallo Eco Lodge that many people who go to Puerto Plata go to this farm to get to know this farm, edible farm. This is a edible garden that has an Eco Lodge there, because the attraction is the way they grow things and to be able to grow what people are going to be eating in the resort. We have this other place called Tierra Tropical that also was developed during the pandemic. These people have a farm where they have lots of products that are being exported, and during the pandemic, they started exhibiting what they had by themes, like the sunflowers, like the pumpkins that are used in Halloween, for example. And this was something that was developing within 3 months. And we have goat farms where we have goat cheese produced. We have the Fair of Mango and in the southern part of the Dominican Republic. And in the northeast part of the Dominican Republic, we have also developed a sustainable circuit in the province of Sabana, where they are offering or connecting or chaining the production chain of different players like artisans, farmers, and small hotels to create and promote the good sustainability practices. And this is something that was done in the Plato de Verano, or the summer dish, where all the restaurants that participated had to use local food and food according to the season. And that is something that is promoting really well the best gastronomic and agritourism practices. So I think I've run out of time. I don't know if you have any other question, but that's what I wanted to share with you. These are some of our experiences. And let me tell you, we are at a point in time where even though this has been developed in an organic way, the Dominican Republic now needs to show that it has it all for real. And we're starting to support them so that they are more visible. We're training them. They are supporting them in terms of training. And what we need now is public policies that may promote and foster the development of these projects with success. Well, thank you very much, Mira. I think the seminar was well concluded. We understand that there are many opportunities for the region, for the Caribbean, and the countries in Central America SICA countries, we need to find the right balance and be able to connect things. We have much to do in terms of training, guiding all the farmers in terms of business and develop contact networks so that they can all grow together. So thank you all. I thank you all for your presentations. I wish we had more time for questions, but because of time constraints, we won't have that chance. But I think this can be the first webinar of many that we can develop on with regards to this topic on agritourism. So now I'll give the floor back to John Charles for his closing remarks.
I don't know about you, but I know I ate, but I'm getting hungry. And I want to make an argument at headquarters so I can work remotely and do all this stuff while I'm, in COVID. We learned to work away from home and away from the office. So I've enjoyed this. I would say the team and I were discussing it. We need to make this longer, like a full day. There's so much rich discussion here, and we want more dialogue. So we're going to build that in the future. I've learned a lot. I'm always blown away, inspired. Lots of innovation going on that we don't know about. And I really enjoyed this myself. Bit my job to thank a whole bunch of people. First off, I cannot, I have to mention my staff. I mean, this whole thing would not happen without them. And so a big thank you to the ICA Canada staff. And our interpreters in Costa Rica, I know they have a tough time because we switch around to English, French, and Spanish a lot. And thank you. I don't see you, but big thank you. Our sponsor, obviously, I've had, this wouldn't be possible without you either. And it's always a pleasure working with you, and we're looking forward to future collaborations. SICA, good job. That second panel is outstanding. Amazing. I wish we had more time. It's always a pleasure working with SICA. We did the coffee fair, and now we've got agritourism. I'm kind of curious what's next. In French, we say jamais 203, so I'm like, what's the third one going to be? Really, just on your tables, before you go, these are bookmarks for our 50th anniversary or in ICA in Canada. ICA is now 81 years old, but ICA Canada is 51 years old, and we did celebrate our 50th anniversary. This is a mural in headquarters in Costa Rica, a gift from Spain. Please take them with you. We also have stress balls and mugs and stuff like their cups, whatever they're called, on the table outside. Please grab one as you go out. Stay in touch with us. Reach out. You want to collaborate. You have an idea. You're working in the Americas. That's what ICA is there for, to advance agricultural development, rural development in the Americas. It's a pleasure working with you. I see a lot of friends. I've made new friends today, and it's good to see my partners again. And all the best to you, and we'll keep you posted on any future events. That's all from my end.
Thank you to ICA and all the staff. Thank you very much.
Gracias. Embajador.